Hello and welcome to the training video where we're going to be looking at clocks and timers. Once you've logged into your digital signage solution, you'll be redirected to your home page. From here, we're going to left click on New Creative. So we're going to make a new creative or project. So left click on the blue tab. I can now choose from one of the many templates, or I can start with a blank page. For this video, we're going to use a blank page. So I'm going to left click on the plus symbol. On the left hand side are my widgets, in the middle is my canvas, and on the right hand side are my settings. The first thing I want to do is bring in the widget. To do this, if we move to the left hand side, and if I scroll down until we get to the General tab, we will find a widget for clocks and a widget for timers. We're going to start with the clock widget. I can either left click on the clock widget. I can then keep my left mouse button pressed down and move on to my canvas and let go when it's in position. Alternatively, if I left click on the clock widget, it will appear in the middle of my canvas. To move the widget around the canvas, if I move my cursor inside of the widget, press and hold the left mouse button, I can then reposition it wherever I would like it. If I want to make the widget bigger or smaller, if I move my cursor to a side or to a corner, until the cursor changes to 2 arrows. Once I see the 2 arrows, press and hold the left mouse button and I can then make the widget bigger or smaller. Once your widget is in position, we can now change the format or the settings. If we now move to the right hand side, we have a new tab called Clock. That's because I added a new widget to the canvas and it's highlighted because I can see the corner boxes highlighted. First thing I'm going to do is change what my clock looks like. So this is called the format. If I go to the first tab under my settings, we can see it's called format and we can see it's got hours and minutes, which matches what's on the canvas. If I want to change this, if I left click within the white bar, it enables me to scroll through to see some pre-made dates and times. If, however, you cannot find a pre-made format that you like, you can make a custom format. To do this, again, left click onto a format, scroll to the top, and we will see custom. Now, I would like to add the time to my date, so I would like it to appear beforehand. So I'm going to left click until my cursor is in front of the year. I'm now going to add HH, a separator, followed by for minutes. I've now put a space in between and I can simply left click outside of the format button and we can see that the clock has been added to my date. We can change the time zone by moving to the time zone setting, left clicking on the drop down menu. We can then scroll through to find the correct time zone or by typing in the first initial of the time zone. So in this case I've tapped G and I'm now going to go to GMT, so Greenwich Mean Time. I can now, when I publish it, we'll be following Greenwich Mean Time on the screen. We can offset the time by 1 day to 5 days if we wish to do so. We can also change the text format. So this is the color, the font type, and the size. To do this, if we go to the setting labeled text, left click onto sample, and the first thing we can do is change the font. So I'm going to change it to Actor. I can change the size in the size tab, and I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And I'm going to change the color of my font as well. So if I left click on the drop down color tab, I can either choose from the color palette or type in a color hex code. I'm going to go with a blue one. So I've chosen the color I would like. I'm now going to click on the cross to close it down. I could then change the text to be italic, bold, or underlined, and I can also change the alignment. I'm now happy with my text, with the color and the size, so I'm going to click OK. So we've now made our first clock. Next thing we're going to do is bring in a timer, and we're going to follow the same pattern. So if I move to the left hand side, move down to the timer widget, I'm going to left click on it, and it's going to position my timer in the middle of my canvas. If I move to the right hand side, we can see type, and that's because we've got 2 types of timer, a countdown a count up. An example might be for a countdown, counting down until a new product or service launch. A count up may be a charity event, so someone's doing a sponsored walk, so you could actually have a clock running on your digital signage screens from the moment they started their charity event. To start with, we'll look at countdown. With the countdown, I need to set a date that we're counting down to. If I move to time and date, we've got a little calendar. So if I left click onto the calendar, I can now change the year at the top. I can change the month, and I can then choose the date. So I put the countdown date to be the 25th of December. We can see it's now changed and we've now got the clock activated within the middle of our canvas. I can, if I want to, say count down to a particular time on that date just by moving to the right of the calendar. I can then adjust the clock. So if I put that to 11 o'clock, we can see it's changed on our canvas. Underneath our date and time, we can change the time zone exactly the same as we did within our clock. Our separator, so there are the two dots, this is what we're seeing, so it's separating between days and hours and minutes. And if I left click onto separator, I can choose a different separator if I wanted to, or I could choose none. Text, if I left click under text, I can change the font, exactly the same as we did with the clock. I can change the size, the color, I can make it italic, bold or underlined, and I can change the alignment. I can also change what we see, so pattern is equivalent to the format within our clock. So if I move across and I'm going to go to my pattern, we have some pre-made ones here for you. We cannot make a custom countdown clock. However, we can edit existing patterns. So under here we've got label and it says short. That's referring to the H, M or S. So if I now change that to long, you will see that it's changed it to the wording completely. Or I could choose to have no label at all. Now we've got our countdown clock, so I'm just going to add a long label. There we go. We can do exactly the same again. So I'm going to left click, drag my timer onto my canvas, let go, line it up. And now when I move over to the type, I'm going to choose count up. So the nice thing about count up is we can either set it to go off now, or we can actually set it off in the future. So it may be that someone is going to be doing a charity run on Saturday. So I'm going to click on the 21st. The event is due to start at 10 AM. So I'm going to type in 10 there, and then I can left click. I've got exactly the same options that we had with the countdown clock. I can now publish this. The clock will stay up there at 00. And once we hit 10 o'clock on the 21st, the clock will start. So we can pre-publish our count up clock. I hope you've enjoyed this video looking at clocks and timers.